Other big Chaplin short from this year.
Just Shoulder Arms.
Yeah. This one
Which
I was somewhat familiar. Like when I saw this one, I was like, "Oh, this movie." I'd never seen it before, but I feel like there's a lot of just like images from it that I
oh really? Huh.
recognized. Yeah.
It's I think it's really well put together.
Yeah.
I think that even more than A Dog's Life, it is telling like a story. Um, in that it's an actual like kind of war adventure story with Chaplin gags in the middle.
Hmm.
Um, involving like including like him uh, uh, going out on a suicide mission and then like meeting a lady in like bombed out France or something like that and
It's
then
really it
having to
is
like scheme with her to like defeat the
yeah.
Germans,
It is at parts of it it is weirdly similar to the movie 1917, but in a much sillier
yeah,
way.
yeah,
Um
silly 1917.
yeah, Edna Purviance is also in this and plays a French woman that sort of shows up in a bombed out house that he's hiding out in. This I think is funny that it kind of functions as like World War I propaganda, kind of, but then I feel like Charlie Chaplin undercuts that a little bit
Hmm.
by with the twist ending, which is that it was all a dream. So yeah, the movie starts with Chaplin, I guess, kind of playing the tramp. I mean, it's his same comic persona. He's not dressed the same, but
Except that he has a pith helmet, or I don't know if that's the right terminology. He has like a helmet, an army
like
helmet
a
that
doughboy
evokes
helmet.
his a doughboy helmet that
Yeah.
like looks like his bowler hat, and he uses it
Right.
in a very
Yeah.
similar way, which is genius. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. It does start with him signing his name and putting out a picture of himself over the title, just so we know that he is in fact in the movie. So like it starts off with him in I guess boot camp, and there's some sort of like soldier training antics that sort of acts I guess as a framing device, because then he goes into a tent and falls asleep, and we think the rest of the movie is after he wakes up, but it's actually all a dream. But yeah, we get like a really cool like tracking shot through a trench. There's a lot of focus on like life on the front and like the minutia
Yeah.
of that, which kind of surprised me that it's like this does sort of function as a pretty effective like World War I movie, even though it's played as like a big broad comedy, which is kind of wild that it's like this war is happening while this
Right.
movie is being
Yeah.
made, and it's like it's so silly. I mean, to a degree, it's like I think it does get. I was surprised how I guess like accurate the depiction of life in the trenches was. Having seen like the Peter Jackson documentary, They Should Not Grow Old, and how like that really focuses a lot on like
Hmm.
life in the trench and like what the day to day of that was like. And it's like a lot of those details are in this of like the mud and like bailing. There's a whole thing where like they're sleeping in like a dugout sort of room and it floods, and they're like trying to sleep as like their beds are floating around and things. That's something that I realize will always impress me is a flooding set. That was also in
Right.
there was another movie we watched recently that had a flooded set that I was like, ah, flooded sets are always impressive. There's a bit where someone's like unwrapping some stinky food, and so he puts on a gas mask.
That's amazing. I thought that was hilarious. Like stinky cheese, Limburger
Right.
cheese.
It's like oh, it's gas mask, and it's like that's kind of a dark joke. Like
It's really, and then he throws it at the Germans. It's
yes,
chemical
exactly.
warfare with stinky cheese.
It's like the fact that they're taking the fact that they're using real poison gas in a war that's happening at the time and being like, it's like throwing stinky cheese at each other. You know, I don't know. It's
Yeah,
like,
it's chemical warfare, but make it silly. You know.
yeah. So that, I guess that kind of surprised me. One, how accurate it was at like getting the details right, but then also playing a lot of those details in a comedic way.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, there's a bit where he's like shooting a rifle and like making tally marks, and then like he gets shot at back, and he like rubs one of the tally marks off. So there's like a long, not a long, but there's like a section of it that's just sort of like his kind of like minutia day to day life in the trench, and then he volunteers for a dangerous mission behind enemy lines, and we cut to him dressed as a tree, looking like Groot.
or Treebeard. And he yeah, and he's dressed as a tree so convincingly that the dumb Germans just can't even detect that there's a face in it. Um,
That was one of the images that I had seen before of just like him dressed as
okay.
a tree walking around.
They get some really good bits out of him, people kind of walking near him and then him just like bonking them on the head and then turning
Yeah,
back into a
he
tree
does
again.
a lot of head bonking in this movie. He finds the bombed out house where the French woman shows up, and kind of nurses his wounds in a very, I guess that's a bit of a cliche of like, the soldier goes in the house and like a
Yeah.
beautiful woman appears. What luck! And there's some kind of language barrier jokes which, I guess play well. I have it written down which play well in silent film. I don't remember if that's sarcastic or not. But then the Germans show up and they have to escape, or he escapes. Ender Proviance is captured by the Germans, and so then he has to follow them back to their headquarters, and he comes down a chimney and burns some butts with a hot poker, and then
Classic Charlie Chaplin butt humor.
yeah, loves that. Then the Kaiser himself shows up, and there's some antics involving Charlie Chaplin pretending to be a German officer. Like the officer, he like puts on a uniform and acts like a fancy officer guy, which is also like such a classic war movie thing of like put on the uniform and like
Yeah. You're
there's
a little
things like
short for a stormtrooper.
yeah, exactly. That's like such a thing. They both disguise themselves and they kidnap the Kaiser and bring home the bacon, as it says in one of the intertitles.
Hmm.
And basically, like it's like, oh, they kidnapped the Kaiser and won the war, and then it's the last scene is him waking up in the tent that he went into sleep at the beginning. His Sidney Chaplin plays both the Kaiser and also like the American sergeant that is kind of drilling him at the beginning. Fun movie.